Greetings, friends. Today I'm going to share with you another yes-no oracle spread, another tarot technique for divining a yes or a no in a predictive way. And I am absolutely fascinated and more or less obsessed with these kinds of oracles. This will be the second one that I will be sharing in this channel, and it probably won't be the last one because I really love a good yes-no oracle, especially an accurate one, and I'm always looking for new techniques that will show me how to do this. And this is one that's based in the major arcana. This is a technique that I developed myself that came as a result of an insight of something that I read in Paul Huson's book, Dame Fortune's Wheel of Tarot, a pictorial key. So I will be using his deck, Dame Fortune's Wheel Tarot here, the majors from that deck, to show you the technique. It's an awesome deck. It's based on the minors are illustrated according to the meanings of Etiella, which is the French cartomancer that kind of forms the basis of the tradition. And it's a super cool deck. You should check it out. It gives blisteringly hot readings. If you're willing to study the system, it's really fascinating, and it will undoubtedly inform your practice, your tarot practice in general. I find that studying the system really enriched my understanding of the tarot, and the deck itself is really neat. It gives really great readings, so I can recommend it. But for this technique, you'll only be using the majors because it works on basis of the majors, and most tarot enthusiasts will know by now that tarot was a game that was popular in Europe during the 1500s, and it was a trick-taking game in which the majors were trumps. And during that, as part of the game mechanics, trumps of a higher number or higher order in the sequence would beat cards of a lower value, and that's how you would win the trick. Hence the term trump. A card that had a higher number on it would beat a card that had a lower number on it. So that's where the trumps come from, right? And so the technique is based on this insight. And I'm going to read something to you from Paul Huson's book. And he writes, "The most important clue to the original meanings ascribed to the trumps, however, may lie in the fact that the earliest examples we possess are not numbered, as triumphs and unnumbered hierarchical order would be therefore presumably have been embodied in their imagery alone. Arguably, for the purposes of a trick-taking game, each successive trump in the sequence would have to be recognizably dominant over its predecessor. If this were the case, whoever designed the sequence did it in such a way that the regular gambler and card player of the early 15th century would have had no difficulty in perceiving this order of precedence. Giovanni Francesco Piccina, a Piedmontese judge writing in 1565, informs us that the lower cards are subject to the higher, indicating that everything below the card representing fortune, for instance, is subject to her insolence, and that the trump sequence itself represents a gradual ascent from terrestrial matters to celestial, including the world of religion, with the last trump card representing the celestial paradise, the highest estate to which humanity can aspire. Nevertheless, by the 1500s, tarot trumps began to carry numbers from 0 to 21, possibly for the convenience of players new to the game, or simply because the allegorical order of the precedence of the trump images was becoming hazy." So there is this idea that's very important, that cards of a higher value in the sequence not only beat those of a lower value in the game, but that they, in fact, in the mythological allegory represented by the major arcana, are more powerful, that they have more weight and more influence, right? So this is an important idea for divination also, right? And this is what sparked this technique for me. And it's very simple. It entails framing a yes-no question, right? And then simply shuffling the cards and splitting the deck and then placing a card on the right and a card on the left, right? And the idea is that the position on the right is the yes position, and the position on the left is the no position. We turn them over, and the card with a higher number gives us the answer. So in this case, we have the sun in the yes position, so we know the answer to our question is yes. And we are now free then to interpret both the cards in relationship to the question. So for example, had I asked, will my friend John be getting in touch with me again? And I drew this this pair. The card on the right would give me would be the yes position. The card on the no would be the no position. The yes position has the highest number, so it trumps that one. So it's that game mechanic coming in, and then we can say, yes, my friend John will be contacting me, and we can now interpret this based on the question. We can see, that we'll be getting along great. The sun is a fortunate card, and that kind of thing. Now, this has turned out to be surprisingly accurate. When I came up with this idea, I wasn't so sure how it would work in practice, but in practice, it's actually turns out to be extremely accurate, and it's consistently been giving me accurate answers. And of course, there is more that we can discern here, right? For instance, we could, add these two cards together to get the theosophical addition, and that would give us 24, and then we would have to condense that down, so then it would become 6. And then of course we could then use the Lover's card as the judge, and that's going to give us some more information that will help us interpret this a bit better, right? So, and that's quite appropriate in this question, which is a relationship question, to get the Lover's card as the judge. Now, we won't use that for the yes-no, but that will help us divine further here. And it is very appropriate in a question if I was asking about my friend John, then we get a hit there, right? In addition to that, there are a couple of things we want to keep in mind, and these principles are really handy, not only for this technique, but they do apply well to this technique, but for card reading in general, right? And when we do this, we of course want to see certain things happen in the result, right? Firstly, if we throw the cards, we want to see a symbolic hit, with which I mean is we want to see some correspondence to our question in the symbolism of the cards, right? For example, if it was about a relationship and we got the Lover card, that would be a symbolic hit. We know that the cards are talking about what we want to talk to them about, and generally speaking, if in the answer card or in the spread in general, we are getting cards that are in correspondence symbolically to what we are talking about, so they're answering what we are asking, not only by the numerical values here with yes, no, but in fact the cards are symbolically referring to the subject matter in some way, then we know that this is an accurate reading. It's giving us an accurate result, and you could say it's radical, to use astrological terminology there. And that's a good thing to look out for in a reading in general. You want to see some sort of symbolic hit. You want there to be a natural resonance between the symbolism of the card and the subject matter, right? For instance, if you're asking about a relationship that has been rocky and there has been conflict, and you, for example, ask, well, will things be improving between such and such and myself? And you lay down the cards and you turn them over, and you got here in the no position, you got the Tower, and in the yes position you got the Lover, right? So then we know that the tower, because it's the higher value card, is trumping the lover, and it's giving us a no because this is the no position. So that's our first, it's giving us our answer, and that's appropriate. But it's also, it's giving us a hit in that it's talking about a relationship, and it's also, this is another hit here. It's appropriate because there has been conflict, things have been turned upside down, or there has been some drama there. So this is an appropriate configuration to see. For example, if you had got some nonsense cards, what I refer to as nonsense cards, you'd been asking about a relationship, and you got some cards that really require you to stretch your interpretive abilities to make them fit, then often I find those kinds of readings are not necessarily accurate. I have a firm faith that if you're doing the reading, and when you're shuffling the cards and you're tuning incorrectly, that there will be a symbolic hit in the cards. The cards will clearly be talking about what you're asking about, right? If you're getting nonsense cards, cards that seem to be, they're on about things that might not be, about what the question is framed about, then you might want to reshuffle and do it again, and this time tune in, bring more mindfulness to your attunement of the question as you're shuffling, because usually you will see a symbolic hit in the cards. The cards will be talking about what you are asking after. So that's it. That's my yes/no technique using the majors only. I hope that was useful to you. Remember to like or subscribe, and thank you for watching.